trends emerging in 2024. The first thing I would say is a renewed focus on product curation. So a real focus on merchandising and planning, right products, right time, right place, and of course, right price. The second thing I'd say is pricing strategies. I think that a lot of retailers and brands have been suffering with things like returns and high costs around raw materials. I don't believe the customer should pay for that. So I think that increasing prices are not the answer. So a really clear pricing strategy on products across the assortment. And then promotion strategies. I think there is going to be a rethink on how brands and retailers mark down product and go into promotional activities across the calendar. So we're going to see a lot more proactiveness around promotional planning versus reactive planning with, the increase of excess and unwanted inventory driving those markdowns. I feel as though brands and retailers are in this continuous cycle of planning inventory the same way, leveraging insights too late, and not really closing that customer feedback loop. So I think better inventory management all around is going to be a real focus for brands and retailers. I think they have no choice but to do this. The second thing I'd say is on improving vendor relationships and partnerships. So thinking of vendors as not service providers, but actual partners within a retailer or brand's op model. And what this would actually mean in theory would be looking at your vendors as part of your supply chain, but part of your operating model, where as you're investing in things like technology, digital tools, your vendor is partnering with you and doing the same so that you can work on product curation together. And the last thing I would say, and this is something I talk a lot about, is process innovation. Brands and retailers are so used to working in the same way, and they have been for decades. Today, I think process innovation is a real focus for brands looking to break down some of those silos that I think the walls have been growing taller and taller. So thinking about how we can go to market differently, how brands can think about the customer in the same way throughout their cross-functional teams. So really innovating process to get to market smarter and faster. I think that there's a lot of room for automating processes, things like allocations. There's a lot of manual work that's being done today, even from an item setup perspective. So digital tools can really help solve some of those nuances in the business that can actually be automated. The second thing I'd say is capturing insights. Now, I think brands and retailers truly want to capture insights from the customer or from market. The challenge is their process hasn't been innovated, so they don't allow for insights to actually be realized and shared out to the right cross-functional teams. Making sure systems speak to each other. Now, a lot of legacy retailers have these archaic tech stacks, which we've all heard of and maybe even witnessed. So thinking about innovation in the tech stack and really thinking about how cloud-based solutions can help integrate systems across the front end of the operation, so the store or even your e-com channel, all the way to your corporate office. The seamless integration and real-time inventory is something we talk about a lot, but having a single source of truth for inventory can really be a game changer for brands. I would say investing in merchandising and planning tools. I think we have such a challenge with excess inventory and just managing inventory in the right place that investing in planning tools to better allocate product and determine where product should be, but also merchandising tools to capture things like real-time insights or just product assortments in general, so that we can actually see what's happening in store in real time and react to it in a timely way. And digital tools are going to help brands do that. The other thing I'd say is from an inventory management perspective, just having the right PLM in place, I think, is really important, especially for design-led brands who have a lot of cooks in the kitchen and a lot of processes that they have been using for decades. When we think about the customer experience, it incorporates the customer journey. And we need to realize, how does our customer want to shop with us? How do they want to check out goods? How do they want to engage with us in a store or on TikTok Shop? And once brands and retailers start to ask those questions, they can meet the customer how and where they want to shop. In terms of the product assortment, asking customers what they want to see, what delights them, what excites them about a product assortment will help brands and retailers curate the right assortment and hopefully reduce some of those returns, because we're actually curating product that customers truly want. In terms of returns, I think we're going to see a higher rate than we've ever seen come January and even February. Of course, we had tremendous activity in sales during Black Friday and Thanksgiving weekend, and I believe that customers are going to continue to spend. The challenge will be how much of that product they're going to return. And from what I've seen so far, I think we're going to see a lot more returns than we've ever seen. I would say brands and retailers really need to think about not only what to do with those returns, but what should their return strategy be? And in turn, they should learn about what product customers are returning. If it is multiple sizing, then maybe there is a sizing issue that needs to be solved. If there is a return that is, I guess there's a consistency across returns, whether it is from a category or style perspective, this is where closing the feedback loop really becomes important, and taking advantage of building that relationship with the customer, but asking them, why are you returning product? Is there something specific that didn't work for you from an either size perspective, a fit or function perspective? And then closing that feedback loop by doing better next season. And this is where I see a lot of brands and retailers fail, where they are not closing that feedback loop. They're not actually listening to the customer in terms of what they want and how they could maybe improve product from a fit, function, or size perspective. So this is where I'd like to see returns make an impact and change the way we look at product assortments and sizing. I believe from a product assortment perspective, I think that we're still developing, creating an assortment, assorting too much product. So from an assortment perspective, over assorting is a real thing. And it's happening across verticals, across categories, across sizes of the business. Retailers, brands, SMBs, they're not confident in what they're putting out there from an assortment perspective in their stores and online. The endless aisle does not exist anymore. And we're quite certain, and we feel it too, that you get fatigue from looking at pages and pages of product. This is where there's a lot more work to be done from a corporate standpoint, and where and how teams are building those assortments. As I mentioned earlier, less is more, and more supply just does not equal more demand. We need to make better choices from a product curation perspective, and also better understanding what the customer wants to see from brands, what they want to see from a SMB, a multi-brand retailer, or even a marketplace. SMBs have a real advantage over larger retailers. They have this ability to get closer with their customer, to build relationships with their customer, and be more agile in how they are marketing to their customer. So I would say the first and foremost thing that any brand or retailer should be doing today is building that relationship with their customer, finding out what they want to see from them, what they're doing wrong, finding gaps and opportunities within the assortment or in the customer experience and journey. These are things that will help drive the product assortment strategy, the marketing strategy, and that will all tie into what products the customer wants to see from you. So really looking at building that relationship with the customer, building loyalty, and of course, building trust will all increase sales and footfall.